when they decide to send the child for the first time to a new preschool?
So it's always easier to have a school which is near to your home.
What is the basic difference between Waldorf and Montessori for
Montessori, it's a child-led approach. Here it's a group-led approach.
IB है, CBSE, Cambridge, and we are not able to decide which is what.
That these are two different things. Philosophy is different, a methodology is different, and a board is different.
Can they shift from CBSE to IB board or another board to IB board?
Yes, they can choose an IB board, and though it's not recommended to change the boards again and again. Okay.
The difference between IB, Cambridge and CBSE. So what's the difference in terms of infrastructure?
So majorly, when we talk about infrastructure, there's not a lot of difference between all the boards. Ali?
Academics means a smarter child.
No.
Long commute is worth it if it's a good school.
If it's a good formal school, and your decision should be your decision and not impacted by anybody else. So listen to your gut, listen to your intuition.
Hi, if you are a parent, want to understand when to send your child to school, understand the difference between different boards like Montessori, Waldorf, CBSE, IB, all these words are confusing you, then this episode is definitely for you.
So today we have with us Anshita, the founder of Sun India Preschool, a TEDx speaker and an educationist. She is here to guide us through all the jargons and clear all our doubts about schooling. So hi Anshita, we are so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Anisha and Priyanka. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you so much. So I want to understand these days why it has become so difficult for parents to take the admission in school, which admission school they should go for. Why it's becoming so difficult?
See, it's becoming very difficult is because parents are not taking their decision themselves. Okay. क्या हो रहा है, if your friend is sending a child to some school, their child to some school, neighbors कहीं और भेज रहे हैं, so it is like a rat race these days. Everybody is thinking कि if my friend has chosen something, that would be right for my child as well. But here I would want to tell parents that you should take your own decisions. Because what you know for your child, nobody can think about it that ways, and the best for your child. So choosing a school is difficult because there are too many people involved in the decision. First, I would like to tell parents कि आप पहले खुद you sit, you analyze your child, you observe your child and see where the child what is his strength point. Right. उसके क्या strength points, and also always see the distance. Because see, school is a regular thing. It's not that आपने one day बच्चे को भेजा and then you don't have to send the child.
Exactly.
The child will go every day to school. So distance time actually matters a lot. So there are a lot of things that a parent should consider before choosing a school. That might as well we are going to take it forward. Yeah. But the main thing is rather than feeling that there are too many schools and kaun sa school choose kare, go and see all the schools yourself. And then make a decision for your child. And then never get deviated because your friend is sending the child to ABC school or your relative is sending your child to an XYZ school. एंड देखो, जो भी पेरेंट अपने बच्चे को जिस स्कूल में डालेगा ना, वो यही बोलेगा इसका स्कूल बेस्ट है.
That is true.
Because they have to validate that decision.
Right.
They have to validate that decision that मैंने अपने बच्चे के लिए बेस्ट सोचा है. That makes them feel that I'm a good parent.
Yeah.
Right? That satisfaction comes in from inside.
Yeah.
So every school is doing good. Trust me, nowadays all schools are doing their best. And because I've been working in this industry from more than a decade now, when I meet educators, when I meet different educationists, I have seen it that they want to give best to the children, right? So choose a school that is workable for you and your family setup.
Of course.
Yeah, because if you are a working parent or you are a stay-at-home parent, the choice of school will also change accordingly. So make your own decisions. That's what I want to tell to each parent.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, very. So actually, like nowadays, as a parent, as a new mother, I want to understand what is the right age to send my child to school. Like, from being an infant to a toddler. So when should I send him to school?
See, yes, this question also comes to me a lot of times,
Yeah.
right? So what happens is when we say that, बच्चे को कब सबसे पहले भेजना चाहिए school?
Exactly.
So 2 years is the most apt age that a child should be sent to the school, because that time the growth spurts. Okay. So when there is a growth spurt, you will see a lot of changes in a child. And either you can see there are a lot of parents who are even homeschooling the children, and that's perfect. Okay. So if you have the time and the bandwidth to spend with children at home, you can keep your children at home till 3 as well. Okay. But if you are working parents, if you cannot give a lot of time to your child, and if the child is getting involved in a lot of screen time, then it's always better that the child goes to a school, because in a school the child will get to know other people, and of course the speech also comes fast. So last 2 days, 2 days before, there was a parent who asked me that इस बच्चे हमारे बच्चे का speech नहीं आया है, तो what should we do? The child is 2 years old.
He's too, okay.
And I immediately told the parent that या तो आप इससे बहुत बातें करो घर में, है ना, पूरा दिन इससे बातें करो, और अगर आप नहीं कर पा रहे हो, आपके पास टाइम नहीं है, तो आप इसको स्कूल भेजो, so that जब बच्चा देखेगा स्कूल में जाके that the other children are talking, teachers are talking, automatically the child will start communicating.
Yeah, that's actually happened. Because my kid was 15 months, so I started sending her school when she was 15. And touch wood, she has a very clear speech. So I think, that can be
really
the
helps.
reason.
So the right age to send the child to school is 2 years, because right now, according to NEP and CBSE norms, the child should be 6 years when the child goes to first standard, right? So the bifurcation that happens is 2 years is playgroup, 3 years is nursery, 4 at the age of 4 it has to be junior KG or LKG, there are different names for it, and for a 5-year-old it should be senior KG or prep. Okay, so and then when the child turns 6, the child goes to the first standard. So this is the bifurcation that happens when we talk about the age thing. And before 2 years, if you and of course it's very important, because after 6 months the growth, actually the child is changing every single day.
True.
The child is developing every single day. So we generally advise parents that you should start with mother toddler. So I always advise parents that after 6 months or 7 months, you should start finding good mother toddlers in your area, right? Because mother toddler is also a very important program, where we can even say it as a parent toddler program as well. There are a lot of schools that even tell fathers to come for with toddlers, and it's a great bonding time, not just with the parents, but also it is a very developmentally appropriate approach towards a child.
Right.
What generally happens is, हम लोग को लगता है बच्चा खेल रहा है normal toy से खेल रहा है, and it's enough for him. There where we see that the child starts becoming cranky, because uske developmental needs are not getting met. So here the most important thing is that the parent takes the decision that the parent puts the child into any mother toddler, and once the child is in any, when a child and a parent starts going to a parent toddler program, they will instantly see that after some sessions the child is much happier, and the parent is much happier, because एक जो guilt thing होता है ना एक पेरेंट के अंदर, कि मॉम गिल्ट है कि मैं अपने बच्चे को टाइम नहीं दे पा रही, आई एम इन्वॉल्व इन हाउस होल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, आई एम इन्वॉल्व इन माई वर्क, दैट मैं बच्चे को टाइम नहीं दे पा रही. तो एक तो वो क्वालिटी टाइम जो आप बच्चे के साथ देते हो, दैट इज ऑल्सो दैट विल मेक यू अ हैप्पियर पेरेंट. Right, so for both parent and a child, it's important that they go to any parent toddler program. In the city, there are a lot of good parent toddler programs that are happening. Right. So of course, they can choose whichever is convenient for them, whichever is best for them, and then they can go ahead with it. So starting, they should go for a toddler program. Then after that, if any school is giving them a readiness program, the child can be put in a readiness program, and then the child can start with his playgroup from the age of 2.
So can you tell me when should we put them in mother toddler? Like, from when they are say 8 or 9 months, or maybe 1+. Like, when should we go for
9
it?
months is a good age. Okay, there are a
All
lot
right.
of toddler programs that starts with 9 months. So with
Okay.
9 months to 1.1 or 1.2 years, you can choose a parent toddler program which is more musical,
All right.
because every child connects with music. Okay. And when we talk about our brain development, their neurons are getting developed during that time very rapidly.
Okay.
So music plays a very important role. So you can choose a toddler program which has more of music and movement. Okay, because till that time, lot of eye-hand coordination and things, there are other muscles which are not yet developed, right?
yeah.
After 1.2 or even 1 year old, after 1 year old, they can go for a toddler program which has more activities. Which has more hands-on activities, so that the child can start with his sensory development. There can be a lot of sensorial activities with the toddler program.
Of course.
A lot of hands-on activities. So then we see that a child will start doing it, a toddler will start doing it, and then that's how they
Then
can
gradually the journey of schooling starts.
starts. Yes.
All right. So now, having said about mother toddler, let's get into preschool. So we wanted to understand that what should parents ideally look at when they decide to send the child for the first time to a new preschool, because mother toddler is more guided with them, right?
Yeah.
So when you have to send them independent, all alone for the first time, what should we look for?
See, first thing that they should look for is definitely the distance. Okay. With young kids, the distance should be taken care of. A very far preschool doesn't work most of the times, because the child is still in the settling phase. And it might happen that the child, you may get phone calls from the school that, pick up your child. And so it's always easier to have a school which is near to your home. The first point. Second point is you should see their safety measures. As we all know that, a mishappening happened in the city. So it's always important that we take care of this. Every parent should see that what safety measures a school is taking.
Okay.
How alert, how vigilant they are with the safety measures, right? Third, that they should be looking forward is the curriculum,
Of course.
because every school is practicing a different curriculum.
Okay.
So they should see that what works best for them and their children. Okay. Fourth is a teacher-child ratio, because a young child, there has to be a proper teacher-child ratio.
Right.
Okay. So
Agreed.
that has to be also taken care of. Then another important point that they should see is their nannies. Okay, that when they are interacting in the school, are the nannies warm? And because most of the time during their toilet habits and eating habits, there will be a lot of involvement of nannies.
Yeah.
So that has to be also taken care of. And most importantly, if the child is comfortable with the mother toddler over there, I feel that parents should choose that school. बिकॉज एक बच्चे का कंफर्ट जोन बन जाता है. एक बच्चे का कंफर्ट जोन होता है दैट मेरे ये एरिया है, मेरी ये टीचर है, एंड बिकॉज द चिल्ड्रन आर वेरी यंग. ओके, सो दे गेट दैट सेफ्टी थिंग दैट आई एम सेफ हियर, आई एम सेफ हियर अराउंड दिस विसिनिटी. So if you are satisfied with the toddler program in any of the schools, then it's always better to switch to that school itself, because the child will always be more comfortable
going there.
Yes.
Okay, now I want to understand further कि once the preschooling has been done, now we have heard so many things, Waldorf है, Montessori है, IB है, CBSE, Cambridge, and we are not able to decide कि which is what. So can you help me in understanding what is all these terms mean?
Yes, so a lot of parents get confused between कि हम बच्चे को Waldorf स्कूल में डालें या Montessori स्कूल में डालें या CBSE स्कूल में डालें या IB स्कूल में डालें. ठीक है. So first of all we need to understand that these are two different things. Philosophy is different, a methodology is different, and a board is different. Okay. So here when I talk about philosophies and methodologies, they are Montessori, Waldorf, Reggio Emilia, Playway. These all are methodologies for early childhood education. But when I talk about CBSE, IB, IGCSE, ICSE, these are boards. Okay. So boards are generally used for assessment, and they are for exams
Okay.
for 10th and 12th grades. So it's a more formal, it's a formal way of how to take it forward, whereas these methodology is a way of how activities and everything, day to day learning has to be done.
Okay.
All right.
How activities have to be planned, how for example, if a child has to be taught alphabets, which way to go, so these all are methodology, these are methods how a child should be taught.
Okay.
Whereas all the boards are so all these boards are assessment based, and they are for further studies, whereas methodologies and these like things like Montessori, Reggio Emilia, Waldorf, these are for early childhood education, and boards are for higher studies.
Okay, so if we go in detailing of each philosophies, so if we start up with Montessori, so what does Montessori mean, and how does the schooling looks like there?
So Montessori is the most prominent methodology that people follow all over the world. It is given by Maria Montessori, and it's a beautiful way of teaching children. Okay, so Montessori is a very child-led approach where teachers are like guides. Okay, and there it's a very systematic approach where a lot of materials are being used, and classrooms are beautifully designed, and all the activities revolve around it. So also it actually works on all the areas of development of a child. It's a holistic development of a child. In Montessori, a child develops holistically. So physical, social, emotional, academically, you will see a Montessori student, a very strong student, when the child gets passed from a Montessori school. So yes, it's a beautiful approach, and the activities are quite different from a normal preschool in a Montessori school.
So what does a routine looks like when a child goes to Montessori? How does it work over there?
So in Montessori school, generally you will see there is an arrival theme, and there is the first thing is that they welcome the children. Okay, then there is a 3-hour work thing in which different topics are being taken, and it's all a child-led approach, right? So teachers guides them, and even if it is about lunch and interacting with the peers, everything goes hand in hand. There's also circle time which has been involved in Montessori. So in Montessori, the best part is all the materials are at a child's reach. So a child can go and pick up materials, start playing themselves, and they can explore a lot of things themselves, because there are wardrobes that are placed with Montessori materials, and children can go and take those materials and play with them, so and learn. So it's always playing and learning together in a Montessori program, and it's a very beautiful methodology.
So, will my child be able to switch from Montessori to any other philosophy if we want to?
See, to change in any other philosophy is fine whenever we talk about transition. But having said that, I always believe that if you are satisfied with one preschool, you keep the child there till the time child switch to a formal school.
Formal school.
So when the child goes to a formal school, a Montessori student can go to any board. It's not a problem. Whether it's a CBSE, IGCSE or IB board, the child can switch to any board after the child completes its preschool.
So, having said a lot about Montessori, there's a new term called Waldorf, that's there for preschool. So, can you enlighten us what is Waldorf?
Yeah, so that's also one of the methodology that is also well renowned worldwide. So it was, it was the brainchild of Rudolf Steiner. Okay, and it works on developmental parameters more. It works around the developmental stages of a child. So it's also a holistic approach, but more than child-led, it's a group-led approach. Okay. And it's a more artistic and a creative way of teaching a child.
Okay.
So it's not like child-led. Teachers are also equally involved.
And the group of children.
Okay.
So it's basically a group-led program.
So, if you could just tell us what is the basic difference between Waldorf and Montessori for parents to make a better decision for their child?
See, both methodologies are beautiful. Okay, so the parent can choose, they can go to their orientation program and see that, whatever resonates with them more. But having said that, Montessori, it's a child-led approach. Here, it's a group-led approach. Okay. It works more on, I would say intellectual and a lot on phonics. A Montessori child is, has very strong phonics and is very, when we talk about academically, the child is very academically strong. Whereas in Waldorf, the child is more creative, the child is more artsy, and the child, we can say that there is a lot of imagination that works in Waldorf.
So one thing, like since we talked about Waldorf and Montessori, now the preschools which does not follow any of the philosophy. So is it okay to send our child over there, or we should choose between these two?
It's absolutely okay. See, with early childhood, there are a lot of other methodologies as well, which are going, right? So, when it comes to a preschool, of course, if a preschool is not following any methodology, that's also absolutely fine. Because there are a lot of different ways to teach a child. Okay, and there are schools which follow an amalgamation of methodologies. So that is also fine, right? You just have to see that what is the curriculum and how are they teaching it. So a lot of preschools also take care of they are choosing playway as one of the methodology in which they are teaching children through play. So either a play-based learning is also happening. Then we have this Montessori, then we have Waldorf, then we have Reggio Emilia. So there are a lot of different methodologies. It's, you need to see the parameters and then decide yourself.
Yeah, I
It's
think
a lot for the parents right now.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we go into each school, we understand we are able to connect it, and what best we see for our children as a future. Like that should help us in selecting, right?
Yes.
So now coming to, big school or a formal school as we call it, where the big decision comes that which board. So let's start with each board individually and try and understand that. So let's decode what is IB that is newly introduced that, a lot of parents are not really aware of. So can you tell us what is IB and how does its curriculum work?
Yes, so IB or International Baccalaureate is nowadays, in every city, most of the cities, and it's gaining a lot of popularity. Okay, because it's an inquiry-based approach. It's an inquiry-based learning, and the child, there's a lot of practical learning when it comes to IB. So, what I have seen in past years, nowadays parents are opting for IB schools over CBSE schools. More international boards have been given importance rather than national boards. So, see, there are all boards are doing great. Okay, and all, I would say that when we talk about our education system, all boards are providing good insights to a child. There is a lot of good things that a child can learn from any of the boards, but IB board is gaining a lot of popularity is first of all because parents have this myth that it's very fancy. Okay. Agreed. So I feel that rather than choosing that it's fancy, that is why all your friends' child is going to an IB board, rather than taking a decision that has been driven by other things, you should first understand what is IB. Okay, and will it resonate with you in future? Because an international board child will generally go to an international university, right? Like any college which is outside. So IB is basically a board of US. Okay, and the colleges and universities that will be chosen would be US based. So we need to understand first. As a parent, you should see that if it resonates with you.
No, so my question is, let's say if I choose IP board and I don't know I don't know what future will bring for my kid, but if I go for IB and then I ask my student, will they be okay in giving Indian competitive exams, or will it be difficult for them?
See, now as education system is evolving. It's it's flourishing. So what is happening is the children can still give competitive exams, okay, and there are a lot of universities in India now that are accepting IB students. Actually, most of them are accepting it. So that's not a problem, but still, because the approach is different, because a national board approach is different and an international board approach is different. So you would see a little difficulty with the child if the child is going for competitive exams being from an IB board.
Okay. Can a student shift or take IB board in the later years, of their education? So maybe can they shift from CBSE to IB board or another board to IB board? When they really think that, okay, like maybe in senior school they decide that they want to send the child outside India, is that also a time where they can choose IB board?
Yes, they can choose an IB board, and though it's not recommended to change the boards again and again. Okay, the transition should be very smooth for the child, and ऐसा नहीं हो कि हम बार बार boards change कर रहे हैं बच्चों का, because the pattern of learning is completely different. Though a CBSE child, shifting a CBSE child to an international board won't be too much of an issue, because CBSE is more theoretical and any international board is more practical. So shifting the child from a theoretical approach to a practical approach won't be that much of a difficulty, but it's always advised not to put the child into even and especially in higher classes, it's not advised that a child changes the board. There are two reasons for this. First of all, their peers.
Right.
Yes.
So every child makes good friends, school friends. They have their peers. And if you are shifting the child from any board, right, the child is leaving all the peers behind. So first of all, the child will come into a lot of discomfort. Okay. And already in a higher, when we talk about higher classes, already, there are a lot of studies. The child has to cope up with a lot of, mental, I would say mental stress. And so the child is, more stressed in higher classes, because there's a lot of new things that are coming in. The curriculum is very intense. And during that time, if you even, take the emotional support from them,
Right.
it is not advisable. So, you should make a wise decision beforehand.
Okay.
But if your child is okay with it, and even as a parent you feel that the child can do this transition, you can go ahead.
Okay. So if the parents are looking for, educate their kid outside India, so I think that's they can send to IB board, because that will be helpful
Yes,
to
IB
them.
or IGCSE. So IGCSE is the Cambridge board.
Right.
Yeah.
So like coming to Cambridge, so I want to understand like what is Cambridge, and how does the curriculum looks like over there, and how does the flexibilities over there?
Yes. So a Cambridge board or an IGCSE board is a board which is based from UK. Okay. So again, when the child passes from the school, the child can opt for UK based universities and colleges.
Okay.
So when we talk about curriculum, the curriculum is more intense as compared to IB.
Okay.
So an IGCSE kid would be doing a lot more when it comes to an IB child, because IB is more inquiry based, but here both theory and practical approach works together. Okay. And when we talk about IGCSE syllabus, yes, IGCSE is much tougher than other boards.
Like define tougher, like how does you say tougher? Like
So when I talk about being tougher, if you will see maths, English, the syllabus of maths and English and other subjects, it's far beyond. And though the children are able to do it, but again, having said that, the difficulty, I would say the board is difficult.
Okay. But if I already plan to send my child to UK, is that when you choose Cambridge, or like the difference between IB and Cambridge is like if I want to send a child to US versus I want to send a child to UK, should I be choosing the boards accordingly?
See, you can choose the boards accordingly, but I feel you should first see the curriculum of it. Okay, so IGCSE is also very good curriculum. It has very good books, what the children are learning in IGCSE is also beyond things. Okay, when we talk about their science, when we talk about their English, when we talk about maths, it's the course, though being tough, the child is exploring a lot. Okay, so, and in IB, it's a completely inquiry-based learning. Okay, so there are no textbooks in IB, whereas in IGCSE, there are textbooks. So
Yeah.
that's also a difference, a major difference. In IB, it's more of worksheets and more of learning manuals. And in IGCSE, they're both worksheets plus textbooks. So, both the boards are doing great in India also. And I've seen the kids from an IB board and an IGCSE board flourishing beautifully. So you can, as a parent, you can still see both the boards, and you can talk to the school's counselor, and then you will get more clarity that, which board you should go for.
Right. ठीक है.
Okay, so now we got to know about IB and Cambridge. But now let's talk about CBSE, the core
know
which we
of.
all have passed through.
Yeah.
So why still CBSE is so popular, and who should send their child to CBSE?
So, CBSE, when I talk about CBSE, the child has very strong roots from a CBSE board. And CBSE board is a national board. Okay, so we all have been CBSE students,
Yeah. Right.
and it's nothing that we're not able to achieve in our life, right?
That's
So
true.
first of all, this taboo of that just sending the child to an international board will, make a child successful in
Right.
ahead in
Yeah.
life. It's not the case. So these are all taboos. A CBSE child is also doing wonders in their life,
Right.
and that's what we can see it ourselves. There have been people who are from CBSE background, but they went to foreign universities and
Right.
college, just giving an entrance exam, right? In international boards, there are no entrance exams that has to be taken. But of course, in CBSE, there has to be, entrance exams which have to be taken. But, a CBSE student can do everything. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand that it's not that any board is superior to any other board. All boards are doing good, and you can choose according to what I should say is, you should see your child's capabilities and abilities, and then you can choose a board and how much time you can give to the child.
Right.
So some international boards, a child has to give, a parent has to give lot of attention to the child because the course is humongous. Okay, whereas a CBSE course is still according to the child's growth.
Right.
So I would say that you can choose CBSE as well. It's an amazing board.
So back in the days, CBSE did not give us so much flexibility, in terms of, it was clear like science, commerce and arts. So what are the changes that CBSE has actually taken into consideration that all the other boards are also there?
See, CBSE was a very theoretical board beforehand. Okay, it was a very lot of emphasis was given on definitions and theories. Okay, but having said that, as international boards have entered the nation, we as educators have seen a lot of difference in CBSE board also. It has, they have come up with lot of other approaches of learning by doing, and more practical approach. So all these things have also started. There has been a shift in CBSE board as well.
Right.
So the curriculum has already incorporated some flexibility.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that is important because we all are going through where we should send. Okay. Okay. Now, in short, let's discuss the difference between IB, Cambridge, and CBSE. So, what's the difference in terms of infrastructure?
Okay, so majorly when we talk about infrastructure, there's not a lot of difference between all the boards because there are a lot of schools which are following both the boards in the same infrastructure. Okay. And then there are schools who have created two separate buildings wherein one is operating on CBSE and one is operating on any international board, but the facilities are generally same. So the there's not much of difference in infrastructure.
But then why is the fees so different? Like there is a 2x, 3x difference among the fees.
Yes, so the fees is different because of the learning materials. So the learning materials in an international board are much expensive. The teacher training programs and the workshops that the school gets it done for their teachers are more expensive in an international board. Also, the affiliation is much expensive, and hence the burden comes on the parents.
Okay. In terms of student versus teacher ratio?
It's almost similar. But yes, in an international board setup, because again the fees is higher, the quality, they have to give better quality. So in that case, the teacher-child ratio in major international boards are like around 30 to 2, or it's still better.
Better.
And as compared to CBSE.
Yes.
And if we talk about curriculum and the homework, workload, how does it makes a difference?
So when it comes to curriculum, as I just told it, that CBSE is more theoretical content, and IB and all the international boards are more practical content. But having said that, every school is following a different approach when it comes to an international board as well. I've seen it in the city that some are getting lot of worksheets done with the children. Some have created their own manuals when it comes to international board. So the learning materials are according to, the school has decided what works best for them.
Okay, all right. And what about co-curricular activities?
So co-curricular activities in an international board would be much higher than a CBSE board, because in an international board there are a lot of holistic development that happens, and the school actually emphasizes more on co-curricular activities. So when it comes to international board, you will see more co-curricular activities happening.
So now's the fun part. Let's get into a quick rapid fire. So Montessori kids struggle in formal schools later.
No.
IB kids can't handle Indian competitive exams.
Sometimes.
Expensive school automatically means better education.
No. I have seen some schools which are charging very less fees, but amazing education they're providing.
Board matters more than teacher.
No. Teachers are always, the gurus, our mentors will always come first, whatever it is.
True.
Okay. Switching boards ruins a child's future.
Sometimes.
Early academics means a smarter child.
Early?
Academics means a smarter child.
No.
Okay. Long commute is worth it if it's a good school.
If it's a good formal school, yes. Not a preschool.
Peer group influences a child more than the syllabus.
True. Absolutely. Company
Really?
matters a lot.
Yeah.
So a peer group, you should always check on your child that, the peer group is supportive.
Okay.
Because in today's time, we've seen a lot of bullying happening in a lot of schools, and we have, reported some of the incidents where bullying actually took a child's life. So, we have to be very careful when it comes to our child peers.
So any one tip in the end you would want parents to have before selecting the school? One tip you would want to give to parents?
So one tip that I want to give to all the parents is, you know your child best. And your decision should be your decision and not impacted by anybody else. So listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, and when you are do a good research and then just choose your child's school.
So before winding up, we would love to know you. Who is Anshita and how do you manage your work and life and your kids? How does it happen?
So something about me, first of all, I'm the mother of 2 kids, and that's one thing that I'm really proud of. And being an entrepreneur, I'm also a gratitude coach also. So there are a lot of other responsibilities that, not just me, but all the women out there, handles it. So I just feel that if you have good time management skills, and I feel you can do it all.
So how did you get, we really want to know a little bit more about you. So, when did Sun India start? How did you get into preschooling? If you could just share some insights on your journey.
Yes. So my first son is my inspiration. Okay. So when my son was 2 years old, I started searching a good preschool for my son. And when I went to different preschools, I did my research, I found out there is a gap in preschool industry. We can still bring better quality. We can still impart good education. That time I felt there was a lot of gaps. And hence I decided that why not I should open up a school. And it just came so instantly to me that,
wow.
I want to. Though my profession, when it talks about, I did my interior designing.
Okay.
And I always aspired to be an interior designer in my life. And I love designing spaces. But, from that journey to being an educationist, I think so. My son plays a very important role. So as a mother, I wanted to give the best of education to my son, and that's how I started with this dream of building up a preschool. And hence, after a year, I started with
off.
Sun India, and from there has been no looking back. It's been a decade now, and I love this industry.
That's commendable. That shows us to what extent a mother
Mother
can
can go. Right.
And I think the whole Jaipur is happy to have Sun India with us, because it's one of the really, and since you said interior, one of the most prettiest looking preschools that we've
Now
actually
we know
come
from where it is
across.
coming from.
The spaces are really beautifully designed. So I think that goes to you a lot.
Thank you so much.
So on that note, it was really insightful and we had a blast having a conversation with you. I hope the parents out there really get a lot of queries are solved, and we hope that you make a better decision for preschool and a formal school.
So if you're a parent who loved this episode and you want to share with other parents, do share this episode and do subscribe to our channel and do comment what did you love, what did you learn, and we would love to know how we can help you and solve better problems for you. Thank you so much for having us.